Hey there drone fans, Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'll give you my top 5 reasons why I love the Mavic Air. Now I've been flying this quad ever since it was released, and I'm still blown away by the fact that DJI could pack this much technology into a quad this small for this price point. Now I'll give you 5 individual reasons, but I wanted to start off with the portability aspects of it because that's the first thing that drew me to the quad. Normally when you find a quad that's this small and portable, it's lacking features. Maybe it doesn't have a great camera, it doesn't fly very far, maybe the controller's a little bit goofy or the software's not fully formed. And I fly a lot of different quads. I fly quads as big as the Inspire 2, all the way through the Phantom series, the Mavic, all the way down to the Spark and the Tello. In other brands, I fly the Evo, I fly the Anafi, and a bunch of other quads. But the challenge is the larger quads that I wanted to take along for the trip required me to pack a gigantic bag. So I've got the quad, the batteries are bigger, the charger's bigger. It's just a real hassle to bring that along on a trip. So what I found happening was a lot of times I'd be traveling and I'd think to myself, am I going to bring the quad along so I can get some shots of the location I'm heading to? And I thought, it's not worth the hassle because I got to wrestle to get it in an overhead bin, and it's just not really great to travel with. So I left them home, which meant I missed a lot of really good opportunities to film when I was traveling these beautiful locations. So with the Mavic Air, it's so small and portable that honestly, I forget that I even bring it with me. It's just so tiny that I throw it in my bag. I don't even give it a second thought. And what I like so much about that is that I don't have to think too much about, am I going to bring the quad? It just becomes part of my travel kit, and it makes it really easy to spontaneously start recording an area, which is really what I care about. So a bag this small, which is my flying go bag, which goes with me everywhere, has the quad, the controller, 3 batteries, a bunch of cables, a bunch of other technology around lens covers and filters. I've got cables in there, and everything fits in this bag, and it's really, really light. So the quad itself, if you haven't looked it up already, is about 1 pound in weight, so it's very, very light, and it's about 6 inches or 6.5 inches in length, so it's really, really tiny. So when I go out to fly, I can pop open this bag, pull out the quad, set it up really quickly, and then pull out the controller and use that. Now I've got the controller in a protective case because a lot of times I'll pack it in my suitcase and take the quad with me in my bag, but it just makes it super easy to travel. And again, the beauty of this is that a lot of times when you buy a quad like this, you've got to compromise on quality because they can't really build all those features into a tiny quad. So for the fact that DJI was able to shrink that 3-axis gimbal down and fit it inside that quad and still give me almost a half an hour of flight time on it and distances well beyond visual line of sight. I don't fly that far, but I could go, almost 2.5 miles with this quad with the enhanced Wi-Fi. It just gives me everything I need. So whenever I travel, it's in my bag with me, and I show up at a location and I think, man, that is a beautiful vista over there. Pop up the quad and just fly, and it's great. Now, if I'm spending a little more time in the field, I might use a specialized case like this. This is a little bit more of a durable case, and this is so thin. Look how tiny that is. So I'll pack this and slide it in my suitcase, and again, forget I even have it with me. But what a case like this does is give you a little bit more room for extra batteries that are protected. It protects the controller and the quad. You can fit cables in there and everything else. So for me, having one of these 2 ready to go pretty much in every trip that I take off on really makes it easy to bring it along without having to think about it a whole lot. Now, if you stay tuned, I've got 4 other key reasons why I love this quad, and I think you're going to want to hear them. Another thing I love about the Mavic Air is the quality of the images it can produce. It has a 1/2.3 inch sensor, which is the same size as the original Mavic Pro. It's mounted to a 3-axis stabilized gimbal, which means anything you shoot from up above is going to be rock solid. You can take 12 megapixel pictures. It'll produce 4K at 30 frames a second video, as well as 1080p up to 120 frames per second. Both of those are recorded at 100 megabits a second, so you're getting a lot of information back from the sensor to the processing inside to give you incredibly good imaging. I'm still shocked that a quad this small can build a 3-axis gimbal in the front. Most quads of this size, maybe you're lucky if you have a 2-axis gimbal, or they use electronic image stabilization, which does a pretty good job up in the air. But having that full 3-axis gimbal just means this thing is going to be incredibly good when you get it up in the air. So now I'm going to fly it over to the lake and we'll get some footage. Another aspect of the Mavic Air that has really impressed me is its performance. This little powerhouse can fly up to 2.5 miles away based on enhanced Wi-Fi technology. Now think about that a minute. The wizards at DJI had to do something pretty magical to the basic Wi-Fi connectivity to guarantee a strong signal between the quad and the controller back to the quad that far away. Now, most quads you're flying are based on Wi-Fi technology. They'll go a couple thousand feet. What DJI did was build in both the 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz bands. They're doing pretty advanced frequency hopping to pick the strongest signal in those bands to always maintain your connection. And the reason that's important is because that signal is not only transmitting telemetry information from your controller to tell the quad what to do, but it's got to transmit back a high-definition video stream so you can watch that on your screen to see exactly where you're flying. And honestly, most of the Wi-Fi quads out there do a really good job with the telemetry information because that's a small amount of information that's being sent to the quad. Where they fall apart pretty quickly is when you get a little bit further away than you should, you'll start seeing breakups in that video stream back and you're going to get choppy video. And that's a kind of a dangerous thing if you're flying in a field like this and you're near trees and things. You kind of want to see where the quad is relative to the tree. So the fact that it's got the enhanced Wi-Fi and gives me that 2.5 miles means that even though I can't fly that far, I mean, to be honest, I'm an older guy, so if I can hit the back of that field and still see the quad, that'll be a good day for me. So 2.5 miles is well beyond my visual line of sight, and I imagine most of yours. But having that strong signal means that I'm not going to have interference. I'm not going to have video dropouts. If I'm flying near trees or bushes, or if there's Wi-Fi interference in the area, I'm guaranteed I'm going to have a good signal, both with telemetry and video being sent back. The unit will fly 21 minutes, which seems like a shorter amount of time based on some of the bigger quads that are out there today. But I'm here to tell you, most of my filming, days that I go out and film, 10 or 15 minutes is all I need in the air to get the shot that I need. I don't need to fly 45 minutes, and I always worry that the quad's gonna get too hot if I fly that long anyway. So 21 minutes is good. I get a good solid 15, 16 minutes. Maybe if I push it 18 minutes out of the quad in that battery, and then I land it with 25, 30% left in the battery. And then I'll let it sit a minute, cool off, put another battery in, and go back up if I need more footage of that particular area. It flies incredibly fast, so it can do 42 miles an hour in the air, which is insane to me, and that's in sports mode. And I don't fly in sport mode much because honestly, when you put it in sport mode, to get in sport mode, it's got to cant so much like this that it actually, the video drops down for a second, so it kind of ruins that first couple seconds of your video. But I like having sport mode because if I'm in a field like this, let's say I want to film something special in that back corner over there. If I fly this in normal mode, it'll take me a while to get there and I'm eating up battery. So I put it in sport mode, I'll fly to the spot I want to film, drop back down out of sport mode, and do my filming where it's nice and smooth and buttery kind of video around. And then when I'm done and I'm getting low on battery, I'll drop it back up into sports mode and hightail it back here so I can land it without having to worry about a return to home event taking place. So I love the fact that it flies fast. The last thing, which again, I can't believe they built into this quad because there's so much technology packed into this, is the avoidance technology. So they've got three-dimensional avoidance where it'll see objects in front of it, both sides and even below it. And that's mostly what you're going to crash into because you typically fly like this, you're going side to side to get a tracking shot, or you're trying to land and maybe there's a bush you didn't see underneath you. I like those 3 levels of protection. And I think, again, it's such a sophisticated quad in such a tiny little package that when this thing first came out, I compared it to the Mavic Pro because I flew that since the day it was released, and I love that quad. I still fly it pretty much every week. I thought of this as sort of the follow-on to the Mavic Pro because it can do things the Mavic Pro can't do in a tiny, tiny little package, again, that just is so easy to bring along. It does everything I need it to do. So stay tuned and I'll get into 2 other aspects of what this quad provides. Another big reason I love the Mavic Air is its feature set. DJI has packed so many intelligent and autonomous features into this quad that even a brand new flyer can capture that perfect shot from 100 feet in the air right out of the box. And they've also done a good job of balancing the needs of new flyers with the needs of experienced flyers, so the new flyers can use the autonomy built into the drone to capture those cinematic shots pretty quickly while developing their skills to become better pilots, whereas experienced pilots that have had a lot of time in the air can immediately transfer the stick skills they've developed on other quads to the Mavic Air and fly it just like a regular quad, but still take advantage of some of those autonomous features when they need them. So the first feature I'll talk about, which I use an awful lot, is Active Track. It's the ability of the quad to focus on an object that's moving, keep it in focus, keep it in the center of the frame, and film it while the object's moving. So it's going to track it through an environment at the same time, avoiding obstacles around it. So it not only tracks the object to keep it in focus, record it, and stay on top of it, it also avoids all the objects around it. So think about the horsepower involved with that and the intelligence in the quad. It's got to keep track of everything around it. So it's using its bottom sensors plus VIO, front sensors and the camera, side sensors to sort of develop this 3D image of the area it's flying through to know what it shouldn't run into. So I use that feature all the time to track things like cars or boats or bicycles. It gives you that perfect smooth tracking shot that really is difficult as a pilot to keep up with, because when you're flying the quad manually, trying to stay exactly at the same pace as that car or that boat that may be slowing down or speeding up is tricky. This guy does a great job of it. Now, you have to keep the controls in your hand because you're the pilot in charge, but I do turn that autonomy on to sort of get that perfect tracking shot when I need it. It's just a great way to do that. Two other features that are really neat are boomerang and asteroid. Both of those are really quick ways to capture some beautiful shots of the scenery you happen to be near. So for example, I'm on a lake today. If I turn boomerang on and put it in boomerang mode, it would actually start looking at me and then fly away in sort of an elliptical, fly behind me and then fly back again in the front. So it gives you a perfect shot of where you're standing and then opens up into this beautiful vista around you. So it's a great way to put a quick clip together to send to family and friends and show them where you may be visiting, like this lake. Asteroid is pretty similar, except that it flies away in a straight line. So it's not a big boomerang thing, but it gives you that same perspective. And that's wonderful when you're standing in front of something as beautiful as this lake behind me, because it gives you a shot of me and then goes back and gives you a much bigger view of exactly what's behind me. And those are easy things to use, and a lot of new pilots love those. And when they send those to family and friends, I'm sure immediately they're like, how did you get that shot? That's a beautiful shot. What a great thing you've got there. So that's asteroid and boomerang. Another feature I use on this is tap to fly. And what tap fly does is it allows you to look at a map, hit a point in the map and say fly to that point in the map, and it'll actually autonomously go up to the height you've set, fly to that point. It'll film along the way or take pictures. So you have a lot of control over exactly what tap fly does for you, and it's using the GPS coordination in the drone itself as well as the obstacle avoidance to get to that point. Now again, you still have to have the controller in your hand, but I love the autonomy built into this to give you that perfect buttery smooth tracking shot to get to that location. Another thing I use often, and I'm starting to use this more and more, is the ability of this quad to actually fly up to a given height and take a 32 megapixel circle panorama. So what it'll do is fly up to a height and start taking pictures like this as it spins around, and then it sews those pictures together at different elevations to build this sort of 360 view of the area. And what's cool about that is when I'm filming today, I may be focusing on a section of the lake, but there's so much other beauty around me. So wouldn't it be cool if I could look at that section of the lake and then with my mouse spin around and look at the cornfields over there and the woods over here and that portion of the lake? And that's exactly what it allows you to do, and that's all automatic. You don't have to do anything except decide what height it's going to go to and hit the button to start that filming. So that's pretty cool. Another one is a feature called Smart Capture, which I've used quite a bit this summer because we've had a lot of parties. It allows you to put the quad up to a certain height, focus on an area, and then use your hand to start filming. So what's great about that is if you have a large party or something and you got 25 people together, good luck trying to fly that quad manually to get it to that height. So I usually give the controls to somebody else who's the pilot in charge, have them fly it up to that height. Then when we're all together and we're all smiling and looking up at the quad, I'll raise my hand and it'll start taking those pictures. So it's a great way to get those perfect selfies, again, with a lake behind you or some other beautiful vista that you're standing in front of. Another cool feature. The last thing I'll talk about is the integration with the Mavic Air and the DJI goggles. Now, if you've never used a set of virtual reality goggles, you're in for a treat, because virtual reality is kind of it's a shifting mechanism for your reality. It basically takes you from where you're standing and puts you in the camera of the drone. And it's hard to explain it until you've done it, but imagine being strapped to the bottom of the drone as it's flying through a field. It's an eye-opening experience that I guarantee you, once you try it, you're gonna be buying a set of DJI goggles, because it's a whole different way to fly. Now again, if you're flying that way, you have to have another person with the controls and pilot in charge, because you can't really fly it by first-person view inside the quad, but it's a wonderful way to go. And I think it's really cool they've incorporated the Mavic Air into the same schema that you can use those DJI goggles. So a lot of the pilots that fly this start off by flying it sort of in that newbie mode where they're using a lot of the autonomous features as they get better on their stick skills, then eventually start flying it manually for most of their missions, and then pick up a set of DJI goggles because they've seen them on somebody else and they've tried them and they fell in love with them. So maybe that's the progression you're going to go through. But what I like so much about this product in general is that they haven't skimped on anything. They've packed in so much stuff to make it really, really smart and autonomous. So again, new pilots can take advantage of it immediately, but experienced pilots like me can still use it to do exactly the same kind of filming I'm doing today. The final thing that I love about the Mavic Air is what I'll call its pedigree. The fact that DJI built this quad means that you're benefiting from their more than 10 years of experience building safe and sound quads like this that fly reliably. And that's not an easy thing to do. When you're building a complex product like this, picking the right technology, getting the software right, getting the coding right, building programs that can control it, that's not an intuitive process. That's something that you kind of learn by your mistakes. And DJI's had a long history of building quads going way back to their Phantom 1 series, Phantom 2, Phantom 3, Phantom 4, Mavic Pro, and all of that experience of building those quads and improving them and tweaking the feature sets are inside the Mavic Air, and it's their 6th generation product. It's almost like you've come from a family of carpenters and your great-great-great-grandfather started in carpentry. and then taught his son, who taught his son, who taught his son, and your dad taught you. So all that experience is at your disposal inside this quad. And again, it's a tiny little package. It's so portable, so easy to bring along. It flies fast, it flies far, it flies long. It takes wonderful pictures. It's got a tremendous amount of intelligence built into it, autonomous features that anybody can use. So for me, I love all the quads that I fly, but I have to say, on a regular basis, this is hands down my favorite quad to take along, just based on its portability alone. So I hope that this clip has given you 5 good reasons why this is an amazing quad. And if you're in the market for a quad, this is a great beginner quad. It's also a wonderful quad to have, even if you're an experienced flyer, because again, I don't think I have one that's more portable than this that does exactly what this guy does. So again, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions about anything I've covered, please drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. I have a ton more clips coming. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button down there in the corner. Join the Drone Valley family. We'd love to welcome you as part of the family. We have a lot of cool stuff we're going to be talking about. And Christmas is coming. And I've talked about it before, but I have the 12 Days of Drone Christmas starting up pretty soon, where we give away a bunch of stuff, and I don't care where in the world you live. We basically pull a name at random from all the entries, put it in a box and ship it to you, and you get a free product. So it's a really cool time to be a part of the family. And I just love Christmas anyway. I go nuts when Christmas comes around. So it's my favorite time of year. Anyway, that's all I have for today. So thanks a lot for watching. And until next time, happy flying.